Old School Bodybuilding Clothing Company. If it's been 3.5 hours since you last ate protein and now you're starting to freak out, you are old school. If watching someone sit on a hammer machine for 5 minutes between sets playing with their phone pisses you off, you are definitely old school. OSBBC.com for the hardest training athletes.
Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today's show is going to be a special one. We're going to talk about the wellness division. That's right. A lot of people, myself included, really don't know that much about what the criteria for wellness is. We're going to see it on an Olympia stage this year. So Robert Phil contacted me. We always text each other on WhatsApp, and he said, you know what? I coach wellness girls. I'd like to come on and talk about the division. And I said, well, you got to get a good representative of that division, one of your athletes. And so we got Devone Martin here, who was a figure IFBB Pro, never placed outside of the top 5. Now she's switching over to wellness. Welcome, both of you guys, to the show.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
Now, you contacted me, Robert, and you said, you know what, I know you, I hear you talking about wellness, and, you know, I don't know that much about what the criteria is other than, you know, big legs, you know, small waist, you know, but focus mostly on the legs. For some reason, you gravitated towards this division, and, you know, you're an IFBB Pro in men's physique yourself, but you're not competing anymore, and you really are focused on coaching these wellness girls. Talk to me a little bit how you got involved with that. Why were you attracted to the wellness division and coaching those girls? Do you like the look of it, or is it something that you feel that you have a knack for? What brought you to the wellness category in terms of coaching?
What brought me to wellness category? We need to start to talk about. Need to bring back me when I even played soccer professional in 2010, and when I met a girl called Mariana, and I asked her, why you don't compete as a bodybuilder, do figure, women's physique, something like that, and she told me, no, I'm waiting for wellness come to the Europe. That time I live in Portugal. Then I start tracking wellness, and I saw like the girls around that. Then I meet the president, IFBB Brazil president that time.
Got it.
And then I start talking to him about the category, say, oh, when are you going to put these shows on, you know, in Europe, America? Say, look, we don't know yet, you know, it's only Brazil, Arnold's, they have a wellness. Then I started to love wellness because it's about like wellness before is quite different now. A couple of things has been changing, especially the condition, and, you know, now they have like tear drops in the glutes. Before it's a roundest glutes.
Right.
It's completely different now, the criteria.
When I first saw wellness hit the scene, because I was down in Brazil a lot for a lot of the Arnold Classics in Brazil down there, and my first exposure to wellness was, it was like a bikini division, just of big legged, big butted girls that had like a lot more muscle than your typical bikini division. Now, like you said, it seems to have evolved to a more conditioned form of that.
Yeah, what happened is before, when the men create the wellness in Brazil, the idea is, because I spoke to her, say, why you create the wellness? Say, my idea first is just a beach contest. That's how the wellness started. They call wellness body beach. And they got the men's body beach as well.
Yeah.
And then on that time, it just, the glutes don't need to have striations or insertions, nothing. It just, the best beautiful body wins the contest.
Right.
Then for adds the wellness adds a competitive way in IFBB, they need to set some criteria. That's why they set up the first show in 2010, where the first winner's wellness on that period is Alexandra Pinheiro. Then she moved to figure category. She turned pro. She's now come back again after 10 years to Olympia stage as a wellness. She go back to wellness after figures. She switched over again. And I just started training the girls. Then I go to live in UK. Then I start my career as a bodybuilder as well, mixed with a wellness trainer. And then I just bump it. And then I'm very happy for this class to come to the NPC and IFBB Pro League. I think never is late. I think they should have this for a long time. It's a very popular class. I don't think so. Wellness is just a huge glutes and huge legs and that's it. The bikini look polar. I don't think so. I think wellness is very hard to achieve. It's certain body types, they are more for wellness, and certain other body types it's very hard to them to be a wellness competitor, very competitive wellness. Then that's one of the things I really want to talk on your channel, because for me it's a pleasure to be. I'm your number one fan, because I never miss an episode, especially you and Lee Priest. I want to say to him, I love you. You're very open. You don't take part. You just passion what you do it, and that's make you like, okay, Dave is the best person because he's open. He's gonna make the right questions. People need to know what real wellness is, what is the foundations, right. And then that's how I know, and that's why I want to talk here. And you got a good example. A figure athlete can switch over to wellness and be competitive. Yeah. And we got Devone. It's like it's a pure wellness.
I think some of the women's physique competitors can switch over too and be very competitive, because I think it's a very muscular legged look now, and some of those women's physique competitors are bottom heavy not heavy in terms of fat. I'm talking about they're more muscular on the bottom than they are on the top, and let's face it, that's what wellness is. It's right. I mean, to me, the look that I like in wellness is a girl with a small waist, very lean upper body, but petite. More petite, and then with obviously good structures, V taper, and then the big legs, but in shape also. That's my look. I don't know if that's what the judges are looking for, but
it's a little bit different, because 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the wellness is more about that, specific way. We see a lot of athletes like they around the world. They champions, they kind of need to change their bodies a little bit, downsize a little bit. Why? Because, if they set the criteria just for Brazilian body style, it's going to be very hard for East European girls to achieve that physique.
Yeah.
In America, no. America is a lot of talent. Then I'm so happy with American athletes, because, okay, the Brazilians, they domain the wellness, but it's not going to be forever, because America has a lot of mixed races. Right. There's a lot of black women with a lot amazing glutes, and the body just floats like Devone. And I think it's a lot of women's physique, or a lot of figure athletes. They just done that because they don't have they can't go to bikini.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because you know what? There's a lot of girls out there that just have fat butts, and they think they're going to just sashay into the wellness division and do well. And really what they are is they're just out of shape, and that's not what they're looking for.
Yeah, they're not looking for, what they're looking for is, in my perspective, what I'm being seeing, okay, people talk about small waist, but a wellness, normally, they don't have a small waist for the fact, and you, Dave Palumbo, maybe have more experience than me, much years, and you got that. You've been in the bodybuilding professionally. You know this. When someone is squatting like 200 kilos, 200 pound squat, you make a lot of pressure on your core.
Of course.
Automatically, your waist is not going to be like a small waist, right. Because, and especially the best bodybuilders in the world, they come in for mesomorph or endomorph look.
Right, but then when you get the couple of freaks that have the small waist with the big legs, look at Flex Wheeler and guys like that, or that's what makes the person who's unbeatable, right? Because they get that somehow they're able to keep the waist small and have the big legs. That's, I think, that's the Miss Olympia, right?
Yeah, Devone is a good example. Small waist and bigger legs, but not everybody is like that. Some of the girls,
that's why there's only a couple of superstars in the sport.
Yeah. That's why Devone and other girls I know is not a lot. Some girls, what they're doing is, I can give an example of someone who doesn't have a small waist. She won a lot of titles before, Angela Borges, and she don't have a small waist, but she created the illusion she got small waist. Why? Because she trained for years, the vacuum, hold the midsection. The people say, she has a small waist. No, she doesn't have a small waist. She created that.
It's an illusion, right? But now that the division is new and there's more people coming into it, you're going to start to get the genetic freaks who are going to come into that division, and that's who are going to be the future stars. Let me go to Devone for a minute, because you know, most people, I mean, you won the junior nationals in 16, you won the overall in figure. Every show you've entered, pro show, you've placed top 5 or better, you know?
No, I've been the first call outs every show, but
okay.
for the most part,
I'm looking at some of your, I see 3rd place LA Pro, 3rd place Tampa, 2nd place San Antonio. I mean,
not every show, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've done very well, obviously.
Yes.
And I've looked at your pictures, and we'll put the pictures up from your Instagram. Most people would say you have a good future in figure. You're someone who can absolutely be at that Olympia level, top 5, you know, if you know, possibly winning if you want to. But you decided you're going to switch to wellness. How do you make a decision like that, given the success you've had in figure already?
For me, I really feel that it's always been a struggle. I feel like when I was competing in figure, the training was very boring. I did a lot of upper body. I felt very stagnant up top. And I couldn't really do a lot with my legs, you know, besides doing cardio, and trying to keep them as dry as I can and keep them down. Not really putting a lot of blood to them, not unless I'm like doing cardio. So it was really hard, the training for me. It just got too boring. Gotcha. Obviously the level of conditioning you have to get for figure. Not that say, and I think this is something I did learn now training for wellness, that conditioning does not go away. I think people think that you go to wellness, it's going to be a lighter conditioning. You still have to be conditioned.
Absolutely.
And it's still just as hard.
100%. I'm glad you said that, yeah.
It's just as hard. And I think that is something I hope that they do that this season. They like really focus on that, because I think there's a lot of girls who really feel it's a lesser division of conditioning, but those girls are really hard at the bottom, especially if you're looking at Brazilian athletes that are now competing in the States. They're not soft on the bottom. No. So I just think that for me, it was just the training, the food, and then genetically, I've always, if you look at me prior to competing for figure, I always had a smaller upper body, always huge legs. My legs, my quads. I played softball growing up, and I was a competitive cheerleader. Gotcha. I always had legs. That was my thing. My upper body was always smaller. Sure. So I felt, you know, and it was just by happening. Quarantine happened. I was running outside a lot, doing a lot more outdoor exercise and everything, and my upper body started dropping drastically. Gotcha. Yeah. And I want to say, like,
because you're living in New York now. In New York, we had a long shutdown at the gyms up there.
Yeah, we did. And at one point I started driving to Connecticut because they opened up before, and it would take like 45 minutes.
If people don't know where you live, you're like right on the border there too, up in Westchester.
Yeah. So I would go to Connecticut once they opened up, because they opened up a few months before us. But I did see a difference in my physique. I was still holding on to my legs. I was still like, at that point in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to compete anymore. You know, I had my fun with it, whatever. Yeah. But then I started watching wellness. I started hearing about it more. I started looking at it. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I feel like, not to say effortless, but I feel like this could be an effortless thing for me. Right, my upper body is very, you know, naturally smaller. And I can put, you know, keep size on my legs without having to, you know, and start training them again without having to sacrifice other areas, if that makes sense. Well, so I just felt like genetically, it was just a better move for me to showcase my physique. And honestly, I love my physique way more now than I did when I competed in figure.
In other words, you couldn't embrace your gifts going in figure because you had to worry about balancing your body. So you were training, you had to train the body parts you didn't even like to train, and then you couldn't train the body parts you did like to train.
Right. And that's basically, you know, bodybuilding is about symmetry. And, you know, you're going to do whatever you can to keep yourself as symmetric as possible. So I just felt like figure was just like one of those things where I was constantly trying to keep the balance. And it was hard for me because you still had to have conditioned legs. So I still need to do cardio. Right. But even when doing that cardio, it was still bringing my upper body down. So I was losing, you know, it was really hard finding that balance. But like Rob said, I think this is going to be a division where you have a lot of girls crossing over. And it's just for those specific reasons. There's a lot of girls who are struggling, killing themselves, trying to keep their upper bodies to stay proportionate to their lower bodies. And especially like ethnic girls, you know, like Latinos, African Americans, Africans, whatever.
Right.
They lower half is there. And they're competing in these other divisions, but they don't really. It's a lot to keep that size up top to match that bottom.
The irony of the division
bottom
is
condition.
Yeah, the irony of the division is that bodybuilding, you said it perfectly, is about symmetry, and wellness is about asymmetry. You know, it's like the only division aside from men's physique, because they don't even judge your legs in men's physique. It's the only division where they're looking at your whole body, but they're actually they want an asymmetrical look, and it's kind of weird in a sense, you know, that they're doing that. But
I agree with you. And that was one of my faults about wellness at first too. But honestly, I think there's a lot of girls in wellness that are competitive right now that are actually very symmetric, which was another motivation of mine. Because I was like, well, they don't look horribly lower body and no upper body. Yeah. There's a lot of girls that I'm seeing now that are kind of matching top to bottom.
That's what I was going to say. I think that as this division evolves over the next couple of years, we're going to see very symmetrical physiques being the crown champions, and it's not going to be an asymmetrical. We're going to look back and say, oh, look at where we started. It looked like a bikini contest, you know, beer contest, you know, in a bar. Now we have, you know, these girls look like they could be on a women's physique stage. I think we're going to see people that have balanced physiques like yourself and just really good legs, and I think that that's going to be the future. That's my prediction. I could be wrong, but you know that's my prediction.
I agree with you. I would love to see it go that way.
Because look at women's physique. Women's physique. I was at the first pro show. It was literally figure, okay, in a posing suit and hitting poses, and in 5 years or 6 years, whatever, it turned into women's bodybuilding basically again, except a better, more symmetrical, prettier version of it. And that's where we're at today. So I mean, you know, wellness is gonna evolve. It has to. So
yeah,
we'll get rid of all the yahoos, and we'll get the you know, the people who are serious and have the serious physiques. And so you see yourself as a future. Now, are you going to do this as a test run, and then if it doesn't work out, go back to figure, or are you kind of all in on this one?
I think I'm all in. I think, honestly, I've enjoyed this prep a lot. And for several reasons. My training style, I do more functional stuff where I'm more agile, so I don't feel like I'm working in one plane of motion.
Right.
You know, I do more athletic training. It's a prep where I don't have to really focus on like just doing lat pull downs and barbell rows or shoulder press and, you know, doing a lot more compound, like, functional movement. So I think that part is what I enjoyed a lot about it.
Right. And
then I hit my lower body hard. So I have my split days where I'm just hitting, you know, my glutes and my hamstrings hard. I haven't really been training quads a lot just because those are there.
Right.
But honestly, I think it's something that I would continue to work and achieve to be, you know, top competitor in the division, just because I think genetically it just works for me. I enjoy it. I enjoy the prep for this division, the dieting, all of it. So I think that it suits me a lot more to my heart, to where it's something I can do and bear without feeling like I'm overdoing it.
Yeah.
Over putting myself out there.
And it's a mistake probably for if you're a woman watching this and you want to get into this division, you're already at an elite level. So you can do functional training, and because you don't need to get any bigger in a sense.
Right. That's true. Like
if you're a beginner watching this, you're going to have to do your basic bodybuilding movements to build that muscle first, and you're not going to be doing functional training. And there is a difference. I could talk to Robert a little bit about this too. You know, when you're training someone like Devone versus another girl who might be just getting into the division and maybe has been only training a year or two, what's the training regimen that you're giving these girls like? Different, and how does it differ?
Okay. Relate to Devone. Devone is already, when I started Coach Devone, I already looked to her. I do evaluation, relate weight ratio. That means the shoulders should be on the same line of your gluteus medians, and your legs cannot overpower your glutes because you lost the symmetry. Then when I look to these young girls, they join the wellness, they think they can look at the Devone in the space of 2 months or 3 months. Always try to say to them, do a good consultation and be as much honest as possible, because this class seems to be very, like you mentioned in the beginning, they think it's a fat bum, and that's it. I go on stage. Then they look ridiculous. And this happened before. Even last year, we see a lot of girls out of shape. And the coaches, they need to understand something. Is wellness is very, very hard. It takes time. It's a specific training for each one, different athlete, because we go ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph, it's different diets. The glutes part, the people need to understand is your glutes cannot overpower your hamstrings cannot overpower your glutes cannot overpower your quads. You cannot have deep insertions of your quads. Your external quads need to be very detailed, very roundness. Your waist should not be shredded. You need to be slightly toned. The glutes, they need to make the teardrop. Sorry, what the hell? The glutes, they should be the teardrop. And to create the teardrop is basically your gluteus maximus, medius, lunge all the way down and makes the connection with your hamstrings. And then most of the giftedness, people giftedness like Devone and other girls, they got already the genetic to have a very higher gluteus medium, and then a very high big glutes maximus. That's the girls, they are born with the genetics. They got more advantage in the wellness. But wellness is proportion symmetry. The condition is not super power condition, but it's dense condition, no deep insertions, but like you need to have insertions, but not deep like in figure. You need to have a deep cut. And wellness is more about density, roundness muscles. You know, the shoulders should have a little bit touch a rear delt, especially when you hit the back pose. Normal, the hair always cover all the back. Then the judges, they like to see a little bit touch on the rear delts. They don't want to see a rounded shoulders because they take them that, okay, this girl maybe come for figure, you know. Then they want to slightly toned shoulders, like just for see their training, you know. Especially when they do the transitions, they can see a little bit lines on the tricep. They want the slightly tricep, not a hard one.
I guarantee you in 5 years the girls will have these big cannonball delts. I'll bet you money on it.
Maybe we'll see that, but now so far.
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I'm very happy for the Pro League to bring this and the Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
Jay Mannion, I want to mention this man because he's doing so much for this class and so much promotion. And Jim Mannion, the president, and Tyler Mannion, vice president, I want to say thank you for all of them, of course, all the judges, Willis and everybody else who really and help this cause and bring this wellness, because the people ask for this class on NPC and give the opportunity to Devone and other 10 Devones or 20 or 30 or 40 Devones. They are struggling to stay in figure, and they lower off, like, you know, overpower, and then they're kind of struggling because to win Olympia figure, they really need a very wider back, and you know, and now they got opportunity to be beautiful, show their quads, not massive giant quads. So people think it's a massive giant quad. No, it's proportion. Your glutes to your quads need to be proportion, girls. Don't just think it's a massive legs and small glutes. That's not gonna work out. Or glutes with a lot of body fat. I don't call fat glutes because it's kind of respectable, but girls, you need to come tighter, you know, deep in, like small insertions and the teardrop. If you don't have the teardrop in your glutes, it's going to be very hard for you to be successful now.
So what you're saying, and this is important, there is a genetic component to this division that possibly, if you don't, just because you have a big butt, okay, in the off season doesn't mean you're going to be good at wellness, because when you diet down, if you don't have the genetics of the glutes in the back, the way you're describing that diamond shape, you're not going to do well, pretty much is what you're saying.
Just for give example, when I look to Devone, I spoke to her, and she's going to speak about this before. I say, okay, the first thing we're going to do is you need to stop training quads until your show day. So what? Yeah. Why? Because your quads, not because you have a small glute, your gluteus medius is quite high. You got very rounded muscle, but the problem is we're going to have problems to lunge that glute. And if we keep working your quads, the judge is going to look just to your quads. When you turn to the rear, they're going to look, they're not going to see a X. They're gonna see maybe a Y, but inverse Y, like big, huge quads. The glutes are gonna look like ping pong balls, and it's gonna look like out of proportion. Then that's what I did with Devone. We slightly trained the quads. She trained quads. I think since we are together, she trained quads once, just for stimulate, And she downsized quads, but she got the details like not slightly extend the quads, intend the quads, and the slightly details, not just harder quads, it's just slightly dense. And the physique now is all compact, and I'm so happy she compact the physique. She's not a huge girl now, but she's compact. She don't have a small quads, but she don't have a huge quad anymore. She got the proportion for the class. And I think that's the difference between the bikini, the wellness, and I hope this stay like that, because we cannot have two classes looking the same way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely have to have a distinction between the two classes, without a doubt. Well, I want to wish you, Devone, a really successful first foray into wellness. I know you got the Pittsburgh Pro, that's Jim Mannion show, in 2 weeks coming up. And you'll be on that stage making your debut in wellness, probably with a lot of other women. You know, a lot of people use Mannion Show as kind of like a platform because they know all the national judges will be there, seeing them for the first time, all the pro judges. And it's a good way to get good feedback from the judges to say, all right, you know what, this looks good, this doesn't look good, change this, change that, so that when you get to the shows later in the year and get closer to the Olympia, you kind of know what you're shooting for, right?
Correct.
Do we have her here?
For sure.
Did we lose her? Oh, there you are.
That's it for sure, yes.
Yeah. I saw. I mean, I just wanted to just make that statement. So anyway, good luck on stage. Robert, will you be out there with her?
I'll be with her. I'll be with two other competitors, pros. And one is Casey, another one is Angela.
Okay. Right.
And more two amateurs, Marisa and Liz. And then I'll be New York Pro as well. And I pretty much don't stop because I got a big, huge job to do related to these girls. And, you know, I wish you can be there as well because you can present yourself.
Yeah, I'll be there. You know, I'm just waiting till COVID blows over a little bit more. So, and then, or they perfect the vaccine a little bit. But for now, I'm just going to stay out of there. Just, especially I got the thyroid cancer thing. I had to get removed. So
I wish you. I want to say, you know, your blessings for you. You are there.
Thank you.
You're fighting. You are always optimist, even with your problem and your title. You keep inspiring people, and then you can be crying, and you know, you never dramatize, and that's keep us as human beings happy to be alive. You know, when so many people complain about this, about that, and just think the money is just important. Look how you do how much for, you know, even now what you're doing for wellness, and your channel have a big platform. That's why I'm saying, no, Dave Palumbo for me is a dream to do an interview with him because he only interview big top coaches. Then Devone is very, I don't know what you're gonna say, but I think she's very honored to be in your channel. I'm honored, and I always gonna be. I want to see you at least in Olympia, and look to you and say, "You saw Dave? Wait, pick one, yeah, pick one. What do you think is the best one?"
Look, you know, we're bound to see one of your athletes on that Olympia stage, you know. But I think Devone has a very good physique, and I think we're going to see her do very well in Pittsburgh. And I like the idea of coming on here and trying to, you know, categorize and qualify what we're looking for, or what they're looking for, or what training techniques you can use. And so this was a good, you know, first, I guess, effort in the sense that, you know, of educating people about the difference between wellness, women's physique, bikini, figure. There is a distinction, that typical footprint that kind of, you know, typifies all these divisions. And I think we did a pretty good job today. And let's see how Pittsburgh goes in 2 weeks. And that's going to probably set the tone for the Olympia, or the first Wellness Olympia that we're going to see, you know, come October.
Yes, I agree.
Dave, thank you so much. I know you may be a busy man. You have a lot of interviews, and one more time, I don't know what to say to you. I just want to say thank you. And
my pleasure.
Yes, thank you for having me.
My pleasure, Devone. Good luck and keep us updated.
For sure.
All right, guys, that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With. I'm Dave Palumbo for Devone Martin and Robert Phil. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, guys.